Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're on a bit of an epistemological search, really. We're looking for a new operating system for civilization.
We are, and we're diving into some fascinating sources that contrast a very old problem, the Greek idea of the Pandora box, with a pretty radical solution from Nusantara wisdom, the Āstagina vessel.
So let's start with the problem. The source material frames our current global crisis as something it calls the crisis of dualism. Metaphorically, the Kotak Pandora.
Exactly. And this idea, it traces all the way back to Descartes. It's a worldview that really only focuses on two domains. The physical world, which is res extensa, or R1.
Right, the stuff you can touch and measure.
And the thinking mind, res cogitans, or R2. And that's it.
Okay, so let's unpack that. If your entire world is just the physical plane and your own thoughts, what gets released from that box?
Well, that's the critique, isn't it? The argument is that by ignoring any, deep or intrinsic reality, you unleash global conflict, ego, and this really interesting concept they call tech runaway.
Technology without moral brakes.
Precisely. And when your only goals, your only metrics are efficiency and power, the inevitable result is what the sources call meaning collapse.
You can definitely feel that sense of anxiety, of polarization. It seems to be everywhere. So if that dualistic framework is broken, if it just leads to collapse, where do we go? And this is where the Āstagina vessel comes in.
It is. The proposed solution is called Seleuci trialism, or trialism, and it's symbolized by this Wada Āstagina, the vessel. It's a huge philosophical shift.
How so?
Because it introduces a critical third domain. It originates from what's called trialismo Luluk in Nusantara philosophy, and it adds res intrinseca, R3, the domain of intrinsic meaning.
But hold on, don't we already have that? I mean, with religion or, established ethics?
This claims to be different because it's approached as a science, something they call Conscio-Science. So where the Pandora box let out conflict, the Āstagina vessel is said to contain things like makna hakiki, or intrinsic meaning true truth, and clean meaning.
All aimed at defining what they call jadi diri, the true self.
Yeah. And that completely changes the end goal. You're no longer chasing efficiency and power.
Right. The goal becomes Kibiyajaksanan and Kimanusian universal. Wisdom and universal humanity. It's like an ethical upgrade for civilization.
It is, aiming for what they call Civilization 6.0 and meaning maturity.
So let's get into the anatomy of this R3 domain, this vessel. If R1 is the hardware and R2 is the software,
then R3 is the underlying ethical code. And it has three distinct layers. First, there's the core. That's res intrinseca itself. It's defined as the source of absolute meaning of universal intrinsic ethics.
The God standard, as the sources call it.
Right. Then you have the mechanism. This is the key to applying it. It's called the spiral of consciousness, and it's basically the scientific methodology, the OS for R3.
So it's not just a concept, it's a measuring stick.
Exactly. It scientifically tracks how that universal meaning, that ethic, flows from the core of R3 into your choices in R2, your mind, and then into your actions in R1, the world. It's the engine.
Yeah, the third layer.
The manifestation. Simply called meaning maturity. This is the indicator. It's how you measure how successful a person or a whole civilization is at actually running on this new code.
So the key takeaway here for you listening is the power of this narrative shift. It's about replacing the destructive legacy of the Pandora box, a system that pretty much guarantees collapse, with the constructive foundation of the Āstagina vessel.
It's a fundamental shift in focus, away from these, superficial power games and toward a foundation of intrinsic meaning.
And the source material really puts it out there, saying this framework is the solution the world is searching for. Which leaves us with a final thought. If res intrinseca really does provide a universal intrinsic ethics, what established global systems that finance, politics, education would have to be completely torn down and rebuilt if the world actually adopted this R3 perspective as its new operating system.